The Elendari world was quiet, but the calm did not last long. In the middle of their crystal city, Commander Leora ran her fingers over the smooth control panel. Her eyes moved quickly over the flashing lights. Outside, the sky glowed a strange green as warning signals flashed across the horizon. The Vexar were coming. The mechanical swarm that had destroyed hundreds of planets was heading straight for them. Leora's stomach tightened. She had never seen such a strong enemy before. Her people had always believed in peace and careful planning, but no plan could stop the Vexar. Their weapons, though elegant, were no match for the swarm's numbers and speed. Every second they waited, the threat grew closer. Leora turned to her aide, a young officer named Ven. "How long do we have?" she asked. Ven's eyes widened, and he shook his head. "Less than 12 hours, Commander. They will reach our outer colonies by dawn." Leora nodded slowly. She knew that their only hope was outside their galaxy. They had heard rumors of humans. A long time ago, explorers had discovered a small planet in a quiet system called Earth. The humans there had survived a world that could kill them easily. Their planet was harsh. Its air could burn lungs, storms could crush cities, and predators could eat the strongest hunters. It was said that humans were dangerous in ways no other species could understand. For years, the Elendari had dismissed the stories as exaggeration, but now, facing the Vexar, there was no one else to call. Leora moved to the communications array. The room was filled with soft humming as energy flowed into the transmitter. She typed in coordinates, sending a message across light years. The words she wrote were simple, but their meaning was clear. "We are dying. Please help us." She pressed the send button. The beacon lit up like a star, stretching through space, a call for anyone willing to save them. She did not know if anyone would respond. Humans were distant, unknown, and powerful in ways she could not fully imagine. But she had no choice. If they did not answer, her people would be gone before the sun rose again. On the other side of the galaxy, the humans were busy with their own work. Daniel Ross looked at the console in front of him, eyes narrowing at a strange signal. At first he thought it was noise, just another anomaly from space, but the signal repeated itself, clearly structured, with patterns he had never seen before. He called over his colleagues. Claire Dawson, the engineer, leaned over his shoulder, squinting at the screen. "It doesn't look like any natural phenomenon," she said. Ryan Brooks, the pilot, stepped closer, curiosity in his eyes. "Could it be a distress signal?" he asked. Daniel nodded slowly. "It's not like anything I've seen. We need to investigate." The three of them stared at the data. They all felt a strange tension, as if the universe itself was waiting for their answer. Daniel contacted the command center on Earth. "We received a message from outside our galaxy," he said. "It looks like a call for help." The room fell silent for a moment. Calls from other galaxies were extremely rare. Even when they came, most were either corrupted or meaningless. But this message was different. The structure, the energy, and the urgency all pointed to one thing: a civilization in danger. The council decided quickly. A small expedition would be sent to investigate. It was risky, but the potential reward was far greater. If the humans could help, they might make allies in the galaxy. If they failed, it would be a warning of just how powerful and dangerous the universe could be. Daniel, Claire, and Ryan prepared for the journey. They checked their ship, ensuring all systems were ready for a long flight. Ryan ran simulations of alien environments, while Claire examined new tools they might need. Daniel studied the signal and tried to understand the language. It was unlike any human language, full of strange sounds and symbols. But the pattern of urgency and fear was clear. They could feel the message through the codes. Every number and symbol seemed to scream for help. Daniel felt a weight in his chest. He had faced many dangers before, but nothing like this. These were lives on the line, lives that depended on them, "We have to try," he said quietly. Claire nodded, her expression serious. "We will," she said. The human ship left Earth behind, moving into the darkness of space. Stars passed like streaks of light as they traveled faster than anything they had ever experienced. Days passed, and the humans studied the message again and again. They tried to decode it, looking for clues about who or what they were helping. Each night, Daniel looked at the stars outside the window, imagining the world that awaited them. He wondered what kind of creatures would need help so desperately. He wondered if they were prepared to face what waited. The silence of space was heavy, but it also carried hope. Somewhere ahead, someone waited for them. Someone needed them. Finally, after a long journey, the humans arrived at the Elandari system. The sight that greeted them was breathtaking. Planets floated in strange patterns, their surfaces glowing with unfamiliar colors. The Elandari city shone like a jewel in space, made of tall towers that reflected the light of multiple suns. But the beauty could not hide the fear. On the streets, small ships were being hurriedly repaired. Soldiers moved quickly, their armor shining, but their faces pale with worry. Leora met the humans as they arrived. She had expected monsters, not humans. She studied them carefully. They were ordinary in appearance, not taller or stronger than her people, not shining with strange powers. And yet she felt something in them that made her heart lift slightly. They were not afraid. Daniel stepped forward and bowed slightly. "We received your message," he said. "We are here to help." Leora studied him for a moment, then nodded. She had expected arrogance or fear, but he looked calm, serious, and ready. She motioned for them to follow. The city was alive with activity. Elandari scientists ran to and fro, carrying tools and data pads. Pilots prepared for flight. Leora guided the humans to the council chamber, a large space filled with crystal light and soft humming. "We are glad you came," she said. "Our people are in danger. The Vexar approach, and we have no way to stop them." Daniel looked around. "Tell us everything," he said. Claire began to scan data on her portable device, while Ryan asked questions about the Vexar's speed, numbers, and attack patterns. Leora gave them as much information as she could. She told them of the Vexar's strength, their cold efficiency, and their unstoppable movement across galaxies. The humans listened carefully, taking notes and exchanging quick ideas. Even as fear pressed against her chest, Leora felt a small hope. Perhaps they could fight. Perhaps there was a chance to survive. Hours passed as humans and Elandari shared knowledge. Daniel asked about their weapons, Claire about their technology, Ryan about their flying methods. Leora watched, amazed. These humans did not just arrive, they began to learn, understand, and adapt quickly. Where her people saw beauty, humans saw function. Where her people hesitated, humans acted with logic and decisiveness. She realized something she had not understood before. Humans were not weak. They were not fragile. They survived because they adapted. They fought because they had to. They were Deathworlders, born from struggle, shaped by danger. And now, they were here to fight for the Elandari. Night fell over the Elandari city. The moons reflected strange colors across the sky, and the hum of the city continued as people worked. Daniel, Claire, and Ryan prepared their plan. They would study the city defenses, learn the patterns of the Vexar, and find the best way to help. Leora gave them a small room, simple but functional. "Rest if you can," she said. "Tomorrow the real work begins." The humans nodded. They did not need much sleep. They were ready. The Elandari had asked for help. Humanity had arrived. The first step was simple: understand the enemy. But the humans knew the second step would be harder: fight it. Outside the city, dark clouds moved across the sky. The Vexar were coming, unstoppable and merciless. Inside, humans and aliens worked side by side, learning from one another. The humans taught the Elendari to see danger in ways they had never seen. They shared techniques, tools, and strategies. And Leora watched, hope growing in her chest. Perhaps with these humans, her people could survive. Perhaps with the Deathworlders at their side, the Vexar would not destroy them after all. For the first time in many years, the Elendari felt a strange feeling. Hope. And in that hope, a new bond began, stretching across galaxies, linking a fragile alien civilization to humans who had survived the impossible. The Vexar might be unstoppable, but humans were here, and that changed everything. The humans woke early the next morning. The Elendari city was already alive with movement. Ships flew between towers carrying supplies and people in a rush. The humans stepped out of their small quarters, feeling the strange light on their skin. Daniel looked at Claire and Ryan. "It's time," he said. "We need to see what we can do." Claire nodded, adjusting her portable tools. Ryan stretched his arms and scanned the sky. "I want to know how fast they can move," he said. "The Vexar won't wait for us to figure things out." Leora met them outside. She had spent the night speaking with her people. Her face was serious but calm. "We will show you everything," she said. "Follow me." They walked quickly through the city, past towers of crystal and light. Soldiers moved past them, carrying weapons the humans had never seen. Some glowed, some hummed, some seemed to shift shape as they were held. Leora stopped at the main hangar. Ships of all sizes were lined up. Elendari pilots were preparing for flight. "These are our defenses," she said. "They are fast but fragile. Against the Vexar, they are not enough." Daniel looked at the ships. They were elegant, smooth, and shiny, but he could see cracks in the plan. "Speed is good," he said, "but survival comes first. We need strong armor and strong tactics." Leora raised her eyebrows. "You can teach our pilots?" Daniel nodded. "I can show them how to move differently, how to use space, speed, and danger in ways you may not have tried." Leora looked at him, surprised. "Danger is part of life," she said, "but we prefer precision, not risk." Daniel smiled slightly. "Sometimes risk is the only choice." Claire moved to the ship with her tools. She began examining the hulls, checking for weaknesses. "These ships are beautiful," she said, "but a few small changes can make them survive bigger hits." She worked quickly, replacing panels with stronger alloys, adding minor shields, and reinforcing the engines. Some Elendari watched her with curiosity, unsure if humans knew what they were doing, but Claire moved confidently, showing them exactly how to make the ships stronger without losing speed. "This will help them survive longer," she explained. Meanwhile, Ryan moved among the pilots, watching their flight simulations. He noticed they moved slowly, careful with every turn. "You trust your technology too much," he said. "You don't trust yourselves." One young pilot, Taryn, looked confused. "We train for precision," he said. "We cannot risk error." Ryan shook his head. "Sometimes speed and instinct matter more than precision. You have to feel the space around you, predict danger, and act fast." Over the next hours, Ryan taught small groups of pilots how to make quick turns, sudden dives, and evasive movements. At first, many struggled. Their bodies were not used to sudden force. Some almost lost control of their ships, but slowly they began to improve. Ryan smiled as he watched them. "You are learning fast," he said. "This is how you survive." In another part of the city, Daniel spoke with Leora. He asked about the Vexar and their attack patterns. Leora showed him the data. "They come in waves," she said. "Each wave destroys more of our outer colonies. Our weapons can hit them, but only a few at a time. We cannot stop them all." Daniel studied the data. He noticed patterns that Leora had not. "They are strong, but predictable," he said. If we can control where they go, we can fight them more effectively. Leora frowned. You think you can fight them with only a few ships? Daniel nodded. Not just a few ships, with strategy, traps, and coordination. And humans. The humans spent the next hours walking through the city, learning everything they could. They visited workshops where Elendari engineers worked, listening and giving advice. They spoke to soldiers, showing small tricks to defend themselves. Everywhere they went, the people watched, curious and sometimes skeptical. Humans were quiet, simple in appearance, but they moved with confidence. They asked questions, learned quickly, and acted decisively. Slowly, some Elendari began to whisper among themselves. These humans were different. They were calm, direct, and unafraid. Could it be true? Could these ordinary people survive where machines and weapons had failed? By midday, Claire had completed the first stage of her work. Several ships had stronger hulls, reinforced engines, and minor shields that could absorb energy blasts. The Elendari engineers examined her changes and nodded in approval. "This is clever," one said. "We would not have thought of it." Claire smiled. Sometimes simple changes make a big difference. Daniel watched from the control panel. He noticed how the Vexar data and the new ship designs could work together. He began drawing plans for a trap, imagining the enemy moving exactly as the data predicted. Leora looked over his shoulder. "It is dangerous," she said. "Your plan risks many lives." Daniel nodded. "Yes, but without risk, we lose everything." Leora stayed silent for a moment, considering. She knew he was right. They had no other option. Ryan finished his training with the pilots. Some of them had improved remarkably. They could turn, dive, and evade in ways Daniel thought were impossible for their bodies. Ryan smiled. "Good," he said. "Now you are ready for real flight. You must trust yourselves, not just your ships." Taryn, the young pilot, looked at him and nodded. "We will try," he said. Ryan nodded. "That is all anyone can do." As the sun set, the humans gathered in the command room. They reviewed all their plans. Daniel explained the trap he imagined. Lure the Vexar toward the moon, where humans could use gravity, debris, and explosives to destroy the swarm. Claire checked the engineering feasibility. Ryan calculated flight paths and maneuvers for the Elendari pilots. Leora listened quietly, her mind racing. This plan was bold, risky, and unlike anything her people had ever done. But she could see one thing clearly. Humans thought differently. They did not wait. They acted. They survived. And if anyone could save her people, it was them. Night came fully, and the city quieted. Lights glowed softly, reflecting on the crystal towers. The humans returned to their quarters, tired but alert. Daniel looked out at the sky, thinking of the swarm that was coming. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing on his shoulders, but he also felt something else: confidence. Humans had survived worse. They had faced impossible worlds, deadly creatures, and collapsing environments. They had survived because they adapted, learned, and acted when necessary. The Elendari needed that now. Leora moved through the halls, observing her people. She saw fear in their eyes, but also hope. She had called for help, and help had come. Not from a powerful army, not from machines, but from humans. Simple, ordinary, and yet extraordinary in their ability to survive. She felt a small smile touch her lips. Perhaps with humans, her people could learn to fight in ways they never imagined. Perhaps together, they could face the Vexar and survive. Outside the city, the stars shone cold and distant. The Vexar approached, unstoppable and relentless. The humans knew this was only the beginning. They had learned the city, the ships, and the people. They had begun teaching, building, and preparing. Tomorrow they would test their strategies. Tomorrow the Vexar would arrive and the humans would face them with the Elendari by their side. Daniel looked at the night sky and whispered to himself, "We are ready. We have to be." Claire and Ryan nodded silently beside him. The Elendari watched them from above, unsure but beginning to trust. And as the first shadows of the Vexar fleet appeared on the distant horizon, one thought was clear to all. Survival depended on humans, the Deathworlders. They were different, strong, and fearless, and now they were here. For the first time in many cycles, the Elendari felt something they had not felt in years: hope. The next morning, the humans woke before the sun rose over the Elendari city. The air was cold, but the city already hummed with activity. Ships moved through the sky, and soldiers ran between towers, preparing for the attack that everyone knew was coming. Daniel, Claire, and Ryan gathered in the command room with Leora and her council. The humans had studied the Vexar patterns carefully. They had noticed how the swarm moved in waves, how it attacked in predictable patterns, and how it reacted to Elendari defenses. Daniel spread out a map of the system. "The Vexar will come from the outer rim," he said. "They will move straight toward the city. We can use that. We can lure them into a trap." Leora frowned. "A trap? You would risk our people?" Daniel shook his head. "Not risk. Protect. If we wait for them here, most of your city will fall. If we move them to the moon and use debris, gravity, and some explosives, we can destroy a large part of their fleet before they reach your city." One of the council members, a scientist named Talon, spoke up. "Explosives? That is dangerous. We cannot control them." Daniel smiled slightly. "Humans control danger every day. You don't need to understand fully. You just need to follow the plan." Leora studied him for a moment. His calm confidence was different from anyone she had ever met. Slowly, she nodded. "We will trust you, but we must act quickly." Claire moved to the engineering lab. She had already reinforced several ships, but now she needed to prepare more. The humans worked side by side with Elendari engineers, showing them how to strengthen the hulls and shields. Some Elendari were skeptical. "This is primitive," one said. "It will not survive the Vexar." Claire shook her head. "It is not primitive. It is simple and strong. It will help you survive." Slowly, more engineers joined her, curious about her methods. They watched as she replaced panels, added energy buffers, and improved engines. By midday, the ships were ready. They looked the same on the outside, but inside they were stronger than anything the Elendari had built alone. Ryan trained the pilots again. They flew in the simulation room, practicing sharp turns, dives, and sudden evasions. At first, several pilots lost control. Taryn, the young pilot, nearly crashed 3 times, but Ryan was patient. "Trust your instincts," he said. "Your ship will follow you if you move right. Do not think too much. Act fast." Slowly, the pilots improved. They learned to feel the space around them, to see danger before it arrived. Ryan smiled. "You are ready. Tomorrow we will see if you are ready in real life." Daniel studied the Vexar signals again. He noticed a strange pattern in their movement. "They follow each other," he said. "They do not act alone. If we break their formation, they will panic." "That is when we strike." Leora looked at him, curious. "Panic? Machines can panic?" Daniel shook his head. "Not exactly. But they react to signals and commands. If the main signal breaks, the swarm will lose coordination. That is our chance." As the sun set, the humans prepared for the trap. The Elendari population watched silently, unsure but hopeful. Ships flew toward the moon, carefully positioning themselves as Daniel directed. Claire checked explosives placed in orbit. Small charges were hidden behind asteroids and space debris. Ryan and the pilots practiced one last maneuver, flying close to the Vexar path to lure them into the trap. Tension filled the air. Even the humans felt it. They had faced dangers before, but this was different. They were far from home, helping a world that depended on them. The first wave of the Vexar appeared at dusk. Shadows moved across space, faster than anything the Elendari had seen. Their metal bodies gleamed in the faint light. The swarm was enormous, countless machines moving as one, heading straight for the city. Leora's heart raced. She had never seen so many of them in one place. "It begins," she whispered. Daniel checked his instruments, calm. "Follow the plan," he said. "Trust your ships. Trust yourselves." The humans and Elendari moved into position. Daniel watched the Vexar carefully. When the first ships reached the edge of the moon's gravity, Claire triggered the first explosives. Small asteroids shifted, crashing into the Vexar fleet. Machines exploded, some lost control, and the swarm began to slow. Ryan led the pilots in evasive maneuvers, flying directly into the Vexar's path to guide them toward the trap. Terran followed, moving faster than he ever thought possible, dodging attacks and staying alive. Slowly, the trap worked. The Vexar moved where Daniel wanted them, exactly as the humans predicted. But the Vexar were strong. They adapted quickly, firing beams of energy that destroyed several Elendari ships. Leora held her breath, watching her people fall. She could see Ryan's ship dodge one attack, then another. Terran's ship twisted, rolling in ways that should have been impossible. The humans and Elendari worked together, their coordination growing stronger with each moment. Daniel directed the flow of the swarm using every bit of knowledge he had. Claire adjusted explosives, making sure nothing went wrong. Slowly, the Vexar were funneled into a small area near the moon. Then the main strike began. Claire detonated the largest charges. Debris flew, crashing into the Vexar swarm. Machines exploded, some spinning out of control and smashing into others. The main body of the swarm was trapped, unable to escape. Elendari pilots fired carefully, hitting weak points Daniel had identified. Ryan led the final wave, weaving through the debris to reach the command relay of the Vexar. It was heavily guarded, but Ryan moved like a shadow, dodging attacks and striking with precision. Terran followed him, gaining confidence. Together, the humans and Elendari pilots attacked the core. Daniel monitored everything from the control station, giving instructions, calculating risk, and making adjustments. Claire watched the explosives and shields, ready to trigger final charges. Slowly, the Vexar command relay began to fail. The swarm hesitated, lost coordination, and began to fall apart. Machines crashed into each other, and smaller groups became isolated. The Elendari city, once threatened with total destruction, watched as their enemy faltered. Finally, Ryan reached the command relay. He fired a concentrated strike, and the relay exploded in a flash of light. Immediately, the Vexar swarm collapsed. Machines stopped moving, falling into the void of space. Daniel exhaled slowly. "It's over," he said. Leora stared at the destruction, unable to speak at first. Slowly, she turned to the humans. "You did it," she said softly. "I did not expect this. You are different from anything we imagined." Daniel shook his head. "We are just people who survive when we have to. That is what we do." The Elendari cheered, lifting their hands in joy. They had survived. Their city was safe. Their people were alive, and the humans stood among them, quiet, simple, and strong. Claire smiled as she checked the final systems. Ryan laughed lightly, exhausted but proud. Daniel looked at Leora. "Your people have the knowledge to defend themselves now, and you have learned to fight in ways you never imagined." Leora nodded, feeling something she had not felt before. Hope, real and certain. As the stars shone over the city, the humans prepared to return to their quarters. They were tired, but the work was not over. Tomorrow they would teach the Elendari more. They would show them how to anticipate attacks, how to survive in danger, and how to be strong. But tonight they could rest. They had faced the impossible and won. Outside, small groups of Elendari whispered among themselves. They had called humans dangerous because of their world, because of what they survived. But now, they understood. Humans were not just survivors. They were protectors, teachers, and warriors. They were the Deathworlders, and they had come to save an entire civilization. Daniel, Claire, and Ryan looked at the moon and the empty space where the Vexar had been. They felt a quiet pride. They had come from a small, harsh world, but that world had taught them to survive, to fight, and to act when it mattered most. Now, far from Earth, they had done it again. They had saved a civilization. They had changed the course of a galaxy. And in the quiet of the night, Leora thought to herself that perhaps humans were more than stories and rumors. Perhaps they were the hope of the galaxy itself,